The CDC says nearly 40 million U.S. adults still smoke cigarettes, leading to all kinds of conditions and health complications for smokers and secondhand smokers. In this episode, HSHS Medical Group's Dr. Bernie Ranchero walks viewers through ways to kick the addictive habit once and for all.
They're the ones who raise the bar. The ones dedicated to providing care in the most demanding of circumstances. The ones that understand the healing benefits of kindness and compassion. They're the people of Sarah Bush Lincoln, and they set the bar high. Sarah Bush Lincoln, trusted, compassionate care right here close to home.
For over 50 years, Horizon Health has been keeping you and your family healthy. And although some things have changed, Horizon Health's commitment to meet the ever-changing needs of our community has remained the same. Horizon Health, 50 years strong.
Carl is redefining healthcare around you, innovating new solutions and offering all levels of care when and where you need it. Investing in technology and research to optimize healthcare, Carl, with Health Alliance, is always at the forefront to help you thrive.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Being Well. I'm your host, Lacey Spence, and today we've got a returning guest to the show, but it's been a while since we've seen him, so we'd like to welcome back Dr. Bernie Ranchero. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's a joy. So since it's been a minute, do you mind filling us in on where you're at now and a little bit about yourself for our viewers who maybe didn't get to meet you the first time you were on?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Bernie Ranchero, and I've been here in the Charleston-Mattoon area for going on close to 12 years now, and I'm the local public health, Coles County Public Health Department medical director, and I've been doing that for, close to 7-8 years now. So it's been quite a journey in the last few, through the pandemic in the last few years. But I also teach at the Carle, Illinois College of Medicine. It's the first and only engineering-based medical school in the country now, and that's at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I'm board certified in family medicine as well as obesity medicine. I do a lot of geriatrics and a lot of wellness. And I'm affiliated now with HSHS Medical Group. So I'm with them practicing right here in Mattoon. So I'll start practicing and seeing patients there.
Wonderful. Well, it's good to get an update, and today we're actually talking about something that might intimidate some of our viewers, smoking cessation.
Yes.
And it is a large problem, you were saying, right here in Coles County?
Correct.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So smoking cessation, that's something that's personal to me. I am an asthmatic, and I suffer from a lot of allergies. And one of the things that affects my breathing is smoking, especially if someone's smoking around me.
Yeah.
Now that said, my asthma is very well controlled, but as you can imagine, that's something I'm very passionate about. In fact, when I was with Sarah Bush Lincoln, I was director of employee health and wellness, and one of the things we had to come out with many years ago was that we will no longer be hiring, Sarah Bush Lincoln would no longer be hiring people that smoke or have any kind of nicotine or tobacco in their system. And I had to make that announcement, I think it was 2016. And that was a tough announcement to make in the community. But it really comes down to, when it comes to healthcare, we need to be modeling what we are trying to promote and, if you will, trying to preach. And so we know that smoking, tobacco use, nicotine use has a tremendous impact on your health. And so we as healthcare providers and we in the community, we need to be first to say, hey, you know what, we're going to model this. And so this is something that is dear to my heart. And air purity and air quality is also very important to me.
Oh, definitely. And I know that for anyone who's been watching along this season, several other episodes, whether they're, it's not necessarily the direct topic, but it's mentioned as helping all of these other things in creating that total wellness for your body.
Correct.
So it's very timely, and would love to dive in a little bit deeper to what statistics kind of look like here in Coles County.
Great, and thank you. And as I'm going to actually take even a broader step there.
Yeah.
And since I am the medical director for the county health department, I'm going to talk about our overall health, and then I'll dive deeper into what our smoking rates are and where we are in Coles County.
Okay.
But one of the sites that I use is the U.S. News and World Report. And if you click on that and you just click on the health of your county, it'll give you a score, the overview of Coles County, Illinois. For instance, we have, at the latest census, 50,621 persons in our area. We're about 500 square miles. And when it comes to our population health, and now this is a score of 100, and you can see how they rate us, but we have a score of 54 out of 100 when it comes to population health. The overall community rating is 47. If you look at our peer group, the peer group median rating is 40. So 47, we're above average for our peer group.
Oh, great.
Yes, but for the Illinois state median, we're actually a little bit lower. And for the U.S. median, we're the same, a score of 47. But when it comes to life expectancy, the average life expectancy in our county is 78.9 years. That's a little bit higher than the national average of 77.5 years. When we look at the population without health insurance, we're at about 7.4%. The median in the United States is 11%. So we're doing well there. More of our community members have insurance. When it comes to smoking cessation and the smoking rate, approximately 20.6 of our population smoke in Coles County. The national average is 20.0. So we're a little bit above average when it comes to smoking cessation. And one of the things that does concern me is several years ago we did have a grant that was given to us because we were identified as an area that had high smoking rates for mothers.
Oh.
So yes, and so we got a grant that if you stopped smoking when you found out you were pregnant and you continued to not smoke through pregnancy and after the baby was born, we'd give you free diapers.
Wow.
So yeah, baby and me tobacco free, and it was a wonderful grant. Unfortunately, we couldn't get enough mothers to participate, and so we lost that grant. But it was an amazing grant because to give free diapers to a mother, that's obviously very expensive. Mm-hmm. And again, our area and surrounding counties as well, they were identified as, for some reason, we have a high smoking rate among newly pregnant mothers.
So what leads somebody to pick up this habit? I mean, I typically think of it's younger people that start with it, not necessarily picking it up as an adult, but I'm a non-smoker, so I can't really speak to it.
Sure. When you look at the top 10 reasons why people, the statistics that you're going to see on the screen is about 10 reasons why teens start smoking. Why does someone start smoking? Number one, and again, this is adolescence, to seem more sophisticated, older, or cool. Number two, because of peer pressure. Number three, due to the influence of advertising, even though that's limited. Number four, because teens believe they can quit at any time, that they can stop. Number five, for its short-term stimulant effect. Mm-hmm. Number six, to have something to handle or to hold. Number seven, for relaxation and stress relief. Number eight, as a social crutch. Number nine, to deal with other cravings. Number 10, because they see other families do it. And a great question, that follow-up question to that is, why does someone continue to smoke?
Yeah.
So I see patients, a lot of the patients that I see are what we call geriatric patients older than 65. And I still do see a lot of patients that smoke in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even beyond. So why does someone continue to smoke? And the main thing is stress. Stress. And I define stress as the body's response to physical or mental demand or pressure. And so many people use smoking as a way to relieve stress because they're bored, because they're angry, because they're frustrated, because they want a break. And that's why people smoke.
And unfortunately, I mean, especially with the pandemic, so many added stressors between isolation, between job loss or food insecurity, whatever it is. Even if there weren't a pandemic, though, there's always going to be something stressing you out.
Right. Right.
Well, and something before we move on, you talking about teens and adolescents. A lot of
Yes.
this sounds familiar to when I was coming up, but now I think one of the bigger things as well is vaping, and teens picking this up and thinking it's a better alternative to smoking, but that's not quite the story, is it?
Correct. And so an interesting thing when we talk about vaping versus smoking. Number one, I do believe as a clinician, I'm very big into preventative medicine. What I mean by preventative medicine is that if you're traveling 60 miles an hour and you see a stop sign, or there's a stop sign 1,000 feet away, when should you start braking? You should start braking, maybe let off the gas as soon as you visually see that stop sign, and maybe start braking, a few hundred feet before. But if you start braking 10 feet before the stop sign and you're going 60 miles an hour, you're going to pass that stop sign and maybe get in an accident. Yeah. And so when it comes to preventative medicine, I often tell patients, hey, I know where you're headed 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, especially if you smoke. And so I tell patients, hey, today is your 5, 10, 20 years ago. I have patients in their 60s who wish they can go back into their 40s and make lifestyle changes. I have patients in their 80s who wish to go back in their 60s. And a lot of patients, I've never had a patient, man, I'm glad I continued to smoke through this whole time.
Right.
No. Or, when it comes to, as you made the statement about vaping. So what I'm going to say is harm reduction. So for instance, if someone is smoking 20 cigarettes a day, would I rather have them smoke 10 cigarettes a day? The answer is yes. I would rather have them not smoke at all.
Right.
Okay, smoke zero. But we do know that when it comes to vaping, is it less harmful than cigarettes? The answer is yes. Is it still harmful? The answer is yes. It is still very harmful. In fact, there's a quote here from Dr. Michael Blaha, clinical director at Johns Hopkins, who said, vaping is less harmful than smoking, but it's still not safe. And so, in fact, if you look at the particles, when you smoke, the temperature, smoke a cigarette, isn't as high. When you vape, that actually is being superheated, and so those particles are being vaporized. And so they're smaller, so they can enter the lungs, enter the bloodstream in a much higher level. And so, no, there's not as many carcinogens as a real cigarette, but it is still harmful. And the verdict's still out there about, how harmful will it be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? We don't know. We also know that there have been numerous injuries from kids, teenagers, adolescents that have been smoking. But generally they're altering those vapes and those e-cigarettes, and especially maybe they're putting other substances in there such as THC or marijuana. So it is more dangerous, especially for that developing mind. So if we can stop a patient, adolescent from smoking, from vaping, we should do those things. But as an adult, yes. I frankly don't understand why in this day and age that cigarettes are still legal. It's interesting because it costs tens of billions of dollars to our healthcare system in productivity and healthcare costs, and it's still legal. What benefit does it have? Some could argue that nicotine and tobacco does have some ceremonial and some religious necessity, and I think for those things, it's okay. But when we're talking highly addictive tobacco and nicotine, it's very dangerous.
So really quick, before we dive into the cessation, the stopping part,
yes.
Can you run through a list of how this is impacting your body?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question. I think one of the things that people always ask is, when you start smoking, what happens? And as you're going to see on the slide, guess what? It virtually impacts all parts of your body.
What?
You want to talk about, your skin, your mood, your heart, your kidneys, your blood vessels, your intestines. If you think about it, why do we have smog regulations? Why do we have clean air regulations? Because we know if we don't have clean air, then our body isn't processing oxygen. So, for instance, I joke sometimes, if you really want to smoke well, then why don't you light up a engine of a car and smoke the engine of a car in? Well, no, there's no nicotine in there, but think about all the harmful carcinogens in a combustion engine. Well, what do you think when you're lighting a cigarette or a cigar or a pipe or other things, what's going on? You're breathing in combustion, particles of combustion, and things that are burning. And so that's going to do damage to your body. And one thing I say, being an obesity specialist and a diabetes expert, if someone comes in, they need to lose weight, they need to treat their diabetes, or they need to smoke, which should they stop? The answer is always going to be smoking. So when it comes to preventative medicine, smoking cessation is the very best thing you can do when it comes to your overall health. Anything else? Yes, losing weight, moderation in drinking, getting physical activity, sleeping well, eating well, those are all important things. But if there's one thing we could do, it's stop smoking. And honestly, I would say eliminate it. And being realistic, can we really eliminate it? I don't know, at least maybe try to curb it and reduce it significantly.
And I feel like I hear a lot of, it's too late for me. Well, I've been smoking for decades. Why stop now? But there's a lot of great benefits that kick in fairly quickly, right?
That is correct. And you know what? Let me take a step back. One of the things that I teach medical students and other providers is something we call motivational interviewing. And it might be, I'm just going to role play with you.
Okay.
Lacey, I know you're very intelligent, and I know you know smoking is bad for you, but you obviously get something out of smoking. So what is it?
Stress relief.
Exactly. And so when people share, you know what? It's the only break I get in the day. Mm-hmm. Because I'm frustrated, because I'm bored, because I'm angry. And so it's finding out that, okay, obviously we know nicotine is very addicting. Mm-hmm. And we know it's damaging to our body. I mean, it's on the packet of cigarettes.
The warning.
Yeah, the warning that it causes cancer, that it can lead to death. And cardiovascular death is still the main killer in the world, in the United States. And cigarette smoking and tobacco use is one of the main risk factors. So finding out, okay, what is it about smoking? What do you get out of it? Okay, I get it. And to tell someone, hey, you know what? You just need to stop. And sometimes cold turkey does work for people, but it's finding out, okay, what can we do to, when you get frustrated, when you get bored, when you get angry, when you get frustrated, or nicotine is oh wow, you just had a good meal, or you just completed something, and it's a reward now.
Yeah.
And those are powerful things, and we know that nicotine, there's receptors in the brain that causes you to become addicted, that if you stop nicotine, you will go into withdrawals. But when a person does, to get back to your original question, when a person does stop smoking, they can see benefits within hours, within days. Yes, initially their lungs will start to heal and they might be coughing up a lot.
Yeah.
But talk about endurance, talk about breathing better, mentation. All those things can happen. And yes, they might have some anxiety, they might have some side effects from all those nicotine withdrawals, but we can deal with that using nicotine replacement. We can deal with that using medicine. We can deal with that using therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. There's many things we can do to help patients to quit smoking.
And it sounds an awful lot like you can't ignore the mental component.
Correct.
So let's dive into, I'm finally fed up and I'd like to tackle this. Where should I start?
That's a great question. And one thing we're going to talk about is how we change. So there are 5 or 6 stages to change. We call the change theory of pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and then maintenance and relapse prevention. But sometimes when it's talking to patients, it's talking to a loved one, they're not ready.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's planting a seed. Wow, how much is that pack of cigarettes? $10? Huh. So how much do you spend a month on that? Yeah. Oh, wow. So you spend $240, $300 a month on that. Okay, wow, that could be used for, imagine the savings on that and what it could be used for. Mm-hmm. And the finances of it. And like I said, maybe planting a seed and not using guilt.
Right.
Not using
that always backfires.
Correct. But sometimes it's the realization that, wait a second, it's not just about me. It's also about the people that I'm around, my family members, the money, and then also just, having something control you. I always say, what is true freedom? The ability to say yes to something? No, it's the ability to say no to something. That I don't have to smoke, that I don't need to take a smoking break, that I am control of my health. And sometimes that's where we need to start with patients and with people and with loved ones to say, you know what, Lacey, you're worthy of good health. And if you don't think you're worthy of good health, then that's where we need to start.
Yeah.
You know, that's where we need to start, because you're a smart individual. You know smoking's bad for you, but you must get something out of it. That's why you continue to do it. And then so do you think your health is worth stopping smoking and making those investments? Because it's hard to stop smoking. It takes the average smoker more than 7 times to stop smoking.
So if anyone hears that at home, don't feel bad.
Correct.
Like if you've tried and tried, because it's a process.
Correct. You know, whether it's losing weight, whether it's working on your blood pressure, whether it's stopping smoking, it can be progressive. And you know what? It doesn't have to be all or nothing. And there are many techniques we use. Sometimes it's asking a patient, how has your smoking affected you? Well, I can't do this. Don't have the stamina to do this. Or, you know, I always have to take a break. Or, well, you know what? What is their motivation? Well, you know what? It's about my grandkids. I want to be at their graduation. I want to be at their wedding. I want to be at their birthday parties. You know what? That's great motivation. That it's not about you. You're doing this for your health, for someone you love and someone you care about.
Right. So practical steps we can take. Let's dive into those in our last several minutes here.
Yes. So several things you can do is, number one, talk to your provider. Talk to your primary care provider out there. You could also go, there's many websites you can go online. One of the things that I encourage people to do is you can actually call the Illinois Tobacco Quit line, 866-QUIT-YES. You can go online. Since we're talking in Coles County, Sarah Bush Lincoln actually has, if you go to their website, they have something called the CORD, a community, online community resource directory. CORD, if you just go to the top of their website there and then type in smoking, and you will see all the resources that are available for someone in Coles County or even our surrounding counties. The classes, the things you can talk about, nicotine replacement, things that are available for a patient to use and for a loved one maybe to help that person who smokes in their lives to do that. The other thing you can do is talk to your provider, your doctor, about nicotine replacements or medications that are FDA approved for smoking cessation. And then you can also combine those things with nicotine replacement, whether it be a gum, a spray, a lozenge, or a patch you wear, so that you're getting the nicotine, which your body's addicted to, but you're not smoking the carcinogens and those toxins.
And like you were saying, there's a lot of options out there, and for some folks, cold turkey might be the route, but you don't have to do this alone. There's so many resources out there, and building a good community and support system, I mean, has to be paramount.
Correct. And I think sometimes the easiest thing for me to tell a patient is, you know what, you smoke 20 cigarettes a day. Can we smoke one less a week? So smoke 19 a day. All right, smoke 19. And the next week, hey, smoke 18. And the next week, smoke 17. Guess what? In 20 weeks, you'll be done. Right. Set a quit date. Have reasons that you're going to do this. Talk to your provider. Get help. And there's other things you're going to see on the slides, that there are non-pharmacological ways and things that we can use to help to stop smoking as well. So there's the more layers, the more interventions you do, the more successful you will be at stopping smoking and making yourself accountable. And the other thing I recommend is, whatever you're spending on cigarettes, put it away in a little bottle. Put it away. And at the end of that month, or whenever your quit day is, and then you start to save up that money, and then treat yourself when, oh, I've been smoke-free for a month. I've been smoke-free for 6 months. Some people who are smoking a pack a day, I promise you can buy a car. I promise you, you'll be able to treat yourself. Yes, you'll be able to pay for gas. So there's people can do it, and it's finding the motivation and finding what are the reasons to stop smoking.
And as we're in our last minute or so, talking about stress being a major motivator for folks. So is the trick trying to find something maybe healthy to replace that bad habit with? Is that an okay strategy?
Absolutely. And you know what? And when it comes to stress management, sometimes I tell people, have 5 things you're going to do. If you get stressed out, what are you going to do? Are you going to, take time to pray, to meditate, to listen to music, to go for a walk, to eat something healthy. Find a way to redirect your mind, to redirect your behavior. Call someone. Make yourself accountable. So have 5 things you're going to do to center yourself for that stress management. Maybe it's just deep breathing and taking 10, 20, 30 seconds to center yourself and say, do I really want a cigarette? Do I really want to eat that Snickers bar? Do I really want to? And saying, what am I feeling here? And that stress management, and when it comes to stress management, real quick, I'll talk about 3 things. Number 1, make sure you're eating well. Make sure you're getting good nutrition. Number 2, getting some physical activity. Walking is so easy. And number 3, getting good sleep. We underrate that in our society, but sleep is critical to feeling well, to feeling good and managing stress. So those 3 things: nutrition, physical activity, and great sleep.
Solid advice. Dr. Ranchero, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course, and we thank our viewers for joining us for season 15 of Being Well, and we hope we'll see you next year.
Carl is redefining healthcare around you, innovating new solutions and offering all levels of care when and where you need it. Investing in technology and research to optimize healthcare, Carl, with Health Alliance, is always at the forefront to help you thrive.
For over 50 years, Horizon Health has been keeping you and your family healthy. And although some things have changed, Horizon Health's commitment to meet the ever-changing needs of our community has remained the same. Horizon Health, 50 years strong.
They're the ones who raise the bar. The ones dedicated to providing care in the most demanding of circumstances. The ones that understand the healing benefits of kindness and compassion. They're the people of Sarah Bush Lincoln, and they set the bar high. Sarah Bush Lincoln, trusted, compassionate care right here close to home.